A climate justice nonprofit is now claiming that the Biden administration is withholding federal funding seemingly exclusively because the organization has shown support for a ceasefire in Gaza. This is the Climate Justice Alliance. It's a coalition of more than 100 community environmental groups, okay? Now, it had previously been selected as one of 11 organizations to receive grants from the EPA this September, okay? Now, coincidentally, it's the only group of the 11 grantees that is engaged publicly on issues related to Palestine. Oh, and it's also the only one of the 11 that hasn't yet received its funding. Now, it says there's no legitimate administrative reason for this. They've met all of the deadlines, and they expected to receive notice of funds way back in September, but they have been receiving a lot of scrutiny for their support for a ceasefire, for their opposition to genocide and all of that. And they're the ones that are not getting the funding. And this is really consequential. As you'll see, we know that Donald Trump is likely to gain the power once he becomes president to just end the nonprofit status of organizations if he doesn't like what they're advocating for. It's tyrannical, but that's what it is. And unfortunately, some Democrats support that, Adam Schiff. And so if they don't get the funding now, they may never get this funding coming up soon. And so for Biden apparently to be discriminating against them because of their advocacy for the Palestinian people is doubly wrong in this case. But Francesca, I'm curious what you make of this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that we have like some real reporting on this, and it's not just a supposition. It's like, no, this is actually what's happening. And I think this is really speaks to a broader point, John, and potentially a good portion of why Democrats didn't win in November and weren't able to overcome Trump and his movement. And that was because all of their talk about democracy really turned to ash as soon as it left their mouth because of their doublespeak when it comes to Palestine, and not just the war crimes in Gaza, but specifically cracking down undemocratically on people's First Amendment rights to speak out against their government funding genocide, right? And to do encampments, to peacefully demonstrate. And they were doing that. And yet what happened? They were brutalized, cops were called, Democratic mayors and governors cheerleaded it on. They all said, if they didn't do that, they said, you need to shut up about Gaza right now because we need to elect Kamala Harris, right? We need to fight against anti-democratic practices by being anti-democratic ourselves. We can't even so much as have a Palestinian speaker, the DNC, and that's our kind of democracy. And honestly, that's why so many people did not believe Kamala Harris believing in standing for democracy. And that's why a lot of them stayed home. I don't support them staying home, but they did because they saw hypocrisy right in their faces. And look, Joe Biden once again paving the way, Democrats once again paving the way for actual fascists to come in and do exactly what they have also been doing, but a little softer way. And case in point, man.
Yeah, they're like this petty BS. Like it's like $50,000 for development projects. They're like, no, we need to spend the last days of the EPA as an actual organization should be, should we give him this $50,000 for this thing? You know what he should be doing? Joe Biden should be flooding organizations, not just environmental organizations, but all of these organizations with as much funding as possible so that they have the tools necessary to continue to function when there's a crusade against them coming up in just a month. He could be doing that. He could be just arming those, protecting people and marginalized communities and providing actual oversight, all these things.
Yep.
He could be funding organizations that will be doing some sort of investigative journalism. He could be doing all of this stuff. Instead, it's like, I don't know. You had, and I swear to God, this is their issue. They had like posted art in support of Palestinians, and one of the images was seen to be glorifying Hamas or whatever. So you don't get your money. We don't care about pipes or, we don't care about any of that. Forget carbon, it doesn't matter. You had one sub-organization had an image that we don't like. And so we're gonna pull your funding for that. Absolutely insane. Thanks for watching our video. Did you know that you can support our show by becoming a subscriber? Just click the subscribe button and also ring the bell so that you get notifications when we're live or when we post new content.